Hoo-wee! Lesbian eroticism or softcore porn? So, Vampire Lovers tells the story of a vampire named Camilla slash Marcilla who comes back from the dead for revenge on those who basically killed off her family. We got another Hammer horror film in the Hammer horror series, which is famous for British horror. Basically taking classic monster stories, Dracula, vampire, and doing their own thing with them, basically. This was okay. I'm definitely more used to Hammer films with a little bit bigger impact. I found this one didn't have too many twists and turns going for it that usually Hammer is known like when it comes to surprises and when it comes to doing something unique kind of thing. This really reminded me, if my memory serves me correct, of Kiss of the Vampire, which I reviewed already on this channel. And right from the get-go, it started off really feeling as if this was a sequel to something that I missed. Maybe to Kiss of the Vampires. I don't think it's necessarily a sequel because I'd say in the first like 5 to 10 minutes of this film, it feels like one, but they're basically giving a backstory, and as the film goes on, it starts to feel more like an introduction to the rest of the film rather than a flashback of a film that came prior or something like that. For sure, though, 100%, I'm not sure. This could be a sequel to another Hammer horror film that I'm not aware of. But as far as I know, I think it's a standalone. This was released in 1970, and this stars. It doesn't star Peter Cushing, but Peter Cushing is in it. He's pretty much in every Hammer horror film, especially the vampire-themed ones. But it was all right. Like, it wasn't a horrible film. Just after seeing so many horror films for this review series, I have seen better, and I have seen certainly more entertaining ones that I would give much bigger thumbs up to. But like I said, this isn't horrible. The women are beautiful in it. I have to mention, especially Madeline Smith, who plays the star named Emma. She's this gorgeous redhead, and I'm telling you, best rack I've ever seen. Like her, she shows them off, and she's not shy to do so. And man, is she gorgeous, and does she have the body to back everything up? And then we've got this other character named Laura, and she's played by Pippa Steele, and she is also absolutely beautiful. This gorgeous little blonde. Like I said, all the women are gorgeous in here. And we have the vampire, Marcilla slash Carmilla. She goes through the film. It gets confusing with the two names. I'm already bad enough with names, and then when you get characters with two of them, it just gets more confusing. But she basically, Carmilla is like her human form name, you could say. Her classic name is Marcilla, but she was killed off or turned into a vampire or whatnot at 21 years old in the 1500s or something. Doesn't really look 21 in the film, but apparently that's when she became a vampire. And when the film starts off, we're introduced to this guy named Baron Hartog, who basically destroyed the entire family of vampires in this castle called Karnstein Castle. This is, a few years behind. And the vampires in the beginning of the film, actually, they look pretty cool because they're all in cloaks, in these gray cloaks, and they float around. One thing they do with the vampires in this film is they make them very phantom-like. Closer to the end of the film as well, when the vampires start kind of teleporting and transporting from the coffin to human form, and just the way they treat the vampirism and the vampires themselves is a little bit different. Like I said, with the phantomness and stuff, which I found cool. It was all right. And getting a little ahead of myself, though. This guy basically destroys this entire family of vampires, and flashing forward to modern times, we're introduced to this woman, Camilla, who basically introduces herself into, families and around Vienna and around old school Europe kind of thing, and causes havoc to these young girls, starting with Laura at first. She befriends these girls and basically makes these girls fall in love with them, like fall in love with her, sorry, in really erotic style lesbianism. They start off as friends, but she has this like hypnotism trance to her kind of thing that makes these girls like infatuated with this woman. It's actually kind of funny. There is this vampire that they never name, but it's this guy on a horse, and he looks amazing. They don't talk about him much. He kind of just appears. I'm assuming he is related to uh, Camila or Marcella in some way. Marcilla, right? Yeah, it's Marcilla. I'm assuming he's related to her in some way, but he kind of just shows up either before or after a kill on horseback on this black horse, and he has this black top hat and he has these big fangs, and he looks really really threatening. I like the way they designed that vampire. It's just too bad that they didn't give him any backstory or any kind of mention outside of just bringing him on screen every once in a while. So eventually, as the film goes on, Emma, the main character, this is once Laura has died, because Laura gets bitten and then she dies, and Camila starts to go after another family, and Emma becomes the star of the film. And keeps having these. Sorry, Emma keeps having this dream of this giant cat, and this giant cat comes into her in her dreams, and it kind of shows visuals of the cat, but mostly it's just in like nightmare form. And these dreams are reoccurring, and it's really distressing to her nightlife. And we're revealed later on in the film that this cat is basically Camila attacking Emma's dreams and kind of invading her head, I guess you could say. Like I said, the way this film treats vampires and vampirism is definitely a little bit different than what I've been used to up to now in the Hammer horror series, for good or for bad. It's just a little bit different. I like how they bring in a doctor for Emma when Emma starts to lose sleep and she is found with like a bite mark on her. And I love how Camila she blames it on a brooch that she was wearing. She's like, "Oh, it must have been a brooch that gave her that wound or whatnot," even though it looks like teeth marks. But everybody's obviously trusting of Camilla as like a family friend and stuff like that. But this doctor comes along, and he, I'm assuming, clues into the vampirism stuff because he brings these bouquet of garlic flowers or garlic buds or something like that in pots and puts them in the room. And then we have Camilla trying to convince one of the guys in the castle, Mr. Renton, to remove the flowers because Camila can't get near them, obviously, and she uses her like seductive powers to try to convince him to get rid of the flowers. And the doctor insists that those flowers, those garlic flowers, stay in the room at all times and remain there, kind of thing. And then it just basically leads up to the general of the castle, played by Peter Cushing. Like I said, he doesn't star in the film, but he definitely shows up here and there. Going back to this castle, Karnstein, and meeting up with the Baron Hartog, who originally destroyed all these vampires, except for one, of course, Carmilla. And he missed her for whatever reason. They do the backstory, and he spent all night driving stakes through all the vampires' chests in this castle, except missed Carmilla somehow. And and then they eventually end up destroying Carmilla after she's gotten enough blood or whatever she's after. She kind of goes back to the coffin for rest, and then they finish her off then. So, story wise, it's very simple and a little bit muddled. And like I said, not too many, certainly not too many twists, but not too much to like grab onto. This film mainly, it's based on a novella called Carmilla, and it's mostly visuals, and it's extremely erotic. I was gonna say ironic. Yeah, ironic, I guess, for how sexual it is. But for a 70s movie, man, to see as many tits as there is in this film for a 1970s film, pretty good. I understand this is like a UK production, so European laws and norms are different than the United States. Always has been, always will be probably. But yeah, it's visually striking. It's a sexy film. It's sexy as hell, and you know, the actresses in it just help tremendously. So it's definitely it's an enjoyable watch. I just can't help but say that there are Hammer films that I will mention, Kiss of the Vampire being one of them, before this one. Now, you want to see some beautiful, beautiful girls get right down and sexy and dirty. Great. Everything else, it's good. It's good. It's not great. It's not horrible. Slightly weaker, but it's good. Basically, I'll just give it that. And there's great beheadings in this too. If you like your beheadings practical, there's some nice beheadings of the vampires throughout the film here and there, which is nice to see. They did a good job on that one. So production value, obviously the sets look amazing, as they always do in any Hammer film. And there's lots of stuff to grab onto. There's lots of stuff to enjoy in this film. Like I said, I just recommend others first. So that's about it. And we got the original artwork as well. Scream Factory already released this film, which is funny, with this artwork quite a few years ago, and I was gonna buy it, but I never made it. It was on my list, but I never ended up buying it. And then they announced this one, so I love my collector's editions with slipcovers, so that's the one I stuck to. And it was alright. It was alright. I had a decent enough time with it, and pretty soon on to the next Hammer horror film for the Hammer horror series. So subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more when I can, so stay tuned for that. And until next review, have a good one, take care, and cheers.